The bell sleeve pattern development. This can be found in your textbook on page 314. The bell sleeve is a smooth cap and has a hemline flaring out in the shape of a bell. The bell sleeve may be developed to any length and to any flare desired. It can be developed based on the dartless sleeve pattern, which is what I will demonstrate here. You can adjust the armhole or the sleeve cap for the amount of the sleeve ease, because when we go to add the flare, this will grow greater and we don't need all the ease that's incorporated into the cap of the sleeve. So there are some adjustments that are made to your bodice pieces for that. Those are talked about on page 310. For our purposes, though, today we'll just focus on our pattern development here. As you can see with my file, I have already duplicated the artboard for my dartless sleeve sloper. So my new duplication is over here. I'm going to double click into my type up here and change this to the bell sleeve as far as what we're going to demonstrate on this page. And I'll go ahead and zoom on in a little bit on our sleeve so that we can see what we're doing a little better. The page 314, 3 different design variations are shown. They're different lengths in the sleeve. I think what I'll demonstrate for you is design number 2. It has a length that goes to the elbow line, which is our line right here. And in order to do that, there's a couple ways. We could just add points here to the outer edges of the outside shape, add some points here, cut and get rid of all of that. But there's another way too that we can shorten up to that line. I'm going to use my direct select tool, select around all the points down here at the bottom. So it's going to get my outer shape and the points on my quadrant lines here. And I'm going to click and begin to drag. If I hold my shift key, I make sure I stay straight, and I am going to drag up to that line. Now my line is still in there, and in order to probably make sure I can get rid of that, I'm going to use my shift and arrow keys to shift my movement down one grouping, which shift jumps at actually 10 points. So in this case, I want to now get rid of this line, delete it, use my direct select tool again to gather just these points along here, and then use my shift and back up arrow key. By using those arrow keys on your keyboard, you can constrain to a desired amount. Make sure you pay attention to the amounts that you move a point or move a line, and then you can move things back if you need, but it helps you keep that precision going on. All right, now I'm going to zoom back out a little bit so that we can see more of our sleeve and pick up with our directions here in the book, plotting our manipulation. So in essence, we've already traced our sleeve. We do need to cut it off at the length. In this case, we already did that as well at our elbow length. We're going to draw an additional slash line between our X grain line and our center grain line. So this was one of our X's. This is called the center grain, and this is another X. So we really want to find the space in between, and by having the outside shape as a nothing fill, we can see our grid through here. So I'm going to get my segment tool, and I can find that I need to be in the center between 1.5 inches because they're 3 inches apart. And I'm just going to click, and if I hold my shift key down, I can constrain that to drag. I'm going to do the same thing over here for the front. Click and drag, but it does look like this one I got a little bit off. I can use my shift and arrow keys to move it over. That looks a little bit better. All right, down here we need to put some points at the bottom of each of these, because what we're going to do is cut them apart at these lines. It's as if we were slashing or cutting our paper up to but not through this top edge. We will rotate the sections from up here to then do our one-sided added fullness, spreading out our bottom for the flare. All right, these are really just for guidelines. What I want to make sure that I have is that the shape or the line that I want to add my points to is in the front. Because if these lines, especially I know these that I drew just last, this point is in front of that line, so I won't be able to put a point on this line because this one's in the way. So I can take this shape, click, and make sure that object is all the way to the front. Bring it to the front. I'm just using these to visually be able to tell where I want to add my anchor point. Right here, here, there, there, and there. So I was able to do that without any of those lines interfering. Next thing I need to do is add lines at the or I'm sorry, not lines, points up here at the top. One up here, one here, one here, and you can see my line's not quite all the way there, but I can get it in about the right place, and then there as well. All right. The bottom ones I need to cut apart. The top ones can stay connected for now. Remember, your scissors are under the eraser tool. They're also keyboard shortcut C. And we will just cut each one of these. Okay. Now then, the rotate tool. I need to zoom out so that, probably zoom in just a little, no, out just a little bit more so that you can see the rotation. And I'm going to refer to the amounts prescribed in the book for this demonstration, but also note that the instruction said you can flare them out as much as you want. But in our case, I'm just going to go ahead and follow the directions in the book. So this is very key, where you need to be able to draw around with your direct select tool. We need to get just these points. All right, if you have, that worked pretty well because that's sort of a rectangle shape. But what if I actually need to get a really irregular shape? And that's when your lasso tool comes in handy. So, you know what, before I do that, we do not need this bicep line. It'll do weird things for us, so we're just going to get rid of that for right now. My lasso tool, I need this point, and whoops, need that point out there, so try that again, and all the way up to here. All right, let's make sure that, or hope that those are all the points that we need. We're going to spread the distance between here and this line 2 inches. So we're going to just kind of have to visually do that on the board here. I'm going to rotate. When I get my rotate tool, remember it puts the center of the axis of pivot in the center of everything selected. So a single click up here puts my pivot point at my first point here, and then down here I need to pivot that out about 2 inches, and it did not bring that inch with or point with it. So I undid my pivot. I'm going to come back here to my direct select tool. I still have all these points selected. Okay, right in here I need to add this point by holding my shift key. I can click and hold. Now we should be able to now then rotate according to here, and we want to go about 2 inches, so we want this point to go to about there. So setting my axis of pivot up there, and click and drag. There is where my next opening is. Now, get your direct select tool and click away from everything, because our next selection or spread comes from this point, spreading distance out here. So we got our first 2. We need to spread distance here and then over here. So lasso tool will allow us to, we don't collect that one, but we do collect this one, and down here and this, and we have found that we need to add that one point. Get our direct select tool, hold shift key down, collect that one, go to our rotate. We're rotating from that point, and in this case we actually are spreading it out about 4 inches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm kind of visually seeing that. All right. I could double check that by putting in a shape in here, like a rectangle. That gives me a dimension of 4 inches as kind of my guide. I'm going to scoot the screen over. Now you can see I obviously am falling off my artboard over here. That's going to be a challenge now for trying to get this all out of the way, but we'll do that. We probably should have scooted it over before we started. All right, which does mean that I really do need to get the rest of this collected. So I am going to hold my Shift key down and start selecting all my other objects within this. And don't forget this little line. Everything's highlighted right now. I want to move everything over. And no, it did not get everything over. It looks weird. So I'm going to hold Shift key and touch the outside shape there. It dropped those lines again. Looks like I got everything. So again, I'm going to click and drag, hopefully moving everything over. All right. We can move our artboard dimensions out later, but at least this way we're not overlapping on that pattern. And I'm going to deselect that. Last little section we need to separate is over here. So lasso tool to get all of these points, collect my notches, and I still need to add that point. So I'm going to hold my Shift key down, connect it, use my rotate tool to rotate right here. And my last one, I am rotating again about 4 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I'm kind of just observing my distance here. This first one, we only rotated 2 inches because when we go to do this other side, it will rotate the other half for that direction. All right. There we go. Now, these others, I won't talk you through each step. I'm just going to try and pick it up for our purposes of the video here. Around that, add this point. Rotate from here, and we're rotating 1, 2 inches. All right. Tell you what, it'll be easier to see this in the back if we extend our artboard. So I can go to my artboard tool. It puts me into the editing mode where I can just drag that artboard side out further. Now you can see it a lot better. Go back to my selection tools, and then now I can begin to pick up with making my next selection. Whoops, didn't mean to run off the board there. Oops. Getting my selections. A tool allows me to add this point. If I hold Shift, rotate, I'm going to rotate from this point now to rotate my selection. And 1, 2, 3, 4 approximately. Click away from everything, get my lasso tool, make sure I get my notch, all my corner points, add that point, rotate from here, and I'm rotating 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, just kind of eyeballing it from the deal. Now, up here, I do have some weird things going on. I can kind of come in and adjust those somewhat by controlling my swinging around my control arms, just to smooth those curves out somewhat. There we go. Looks pretty fair. If I do want to say, I think I'll move those in a little. I'm going to bring these points down. Deselect that. Come on down just a little bit. Maybe that one just a little bit more. This one needs to probably come down just a little bit more. Okay, zoom out. Now, our pen tool. We can go to picking up from here to making sure we don't want to add to that line. So let's undo that. We can get rid of these lines. We don't need that one. We don't need that one, or that one. That will get those out of the way so that with our pen tool, we can connect. If we drag, we get a swing arm. We might not want to do that just yet. We can adjust our curves, pick up here, close that, pick up here, close that, pick up here. I kind of did a wider gap right there, and so on. There we go. Now, let's use our center line here. Oops. As our grain line. We can collect one point at one end, and I'm just using my keyboard shift and arrows, keyboard arrows, to change that line a little bit. Now, let me show you a tool. See how on here we have multiple points. 1, 2, 3, lots of points. There's a smooth tool in here that I'm going to show you. It is our pencil tool, which I think is behind our shape builder. Smooth tool. So what it does is if I click and drag over areas, I really kind of need to, it will get rid of some of the points on things. It doesn't really want to do that right now. I could also do a convert anchor points and click and drag somewhat just to sort of smooth them out. And you can play around with it. I won't spend too much more time on all of that. What I do want to make sure though is now with my new shape, I'm going to give it a white fill. All right, now since this shape I had moved to the front when I filled it, it covered all the other details up. So at this point I can send it to the back. You can go to the object menu like we've always done up here and go to arrange. But now I can also click and with my right mouse button and arrange and send to back. And when I do that, now all the other details are in front. But you know what? I don't want to actually put that as a fill just yet. I still need to do my offset path for my offset. Make my seam allowance. There we go. Add. Great. Now then, this inner line, which is my curve, I can go to dashed line and click it. There's my dashed line. This line I can add my arrows on my grain line. There we go. My notches I would move out here to the outer edges, but I'm running short on time. The outer one is the one that I will do the white fill. And lastly, adding my text right in here. My text, I need to make it bigger so we can read it. I guess 48 is the point. And this is the bell sleeve. Size 8. You would cut 2 out of fabric and then your name or initials, however you've been consistently doing that. There we go. And zoom out. Yes, you'd want to take the time, clean that bottom edge up a little bit. There will be one more demonstration that will be added to this file before your sleeve assignments are all done. That'll be in another video because this one got lengthy. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck with everything.